Welcome to Energy Insights. Today we're speaking with Abdul Waheed Bhutto. Abdul is an academic researcher and the Pro Vice Chancellor at Dawood University of Engineering and Technology in Pakistan. He's authored numerous publications and secured significant research grants in the fields of sustainable energy, renewable resources, and biomass utilisation. He also established the Biomass Conversion and Green Chemicals Recovery Technology Laboratory and has received numerous research and productivity awards. Today we spoke about Pakistan's ongoing energy crisis, the main energy sources in Pakistan, the failures of government policy to ensure stable energy supplies, and of course the impacts on the wider economy. It was great to get Abdul on the show, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Okay, we are here with Dr. Abdul Waheed Bhutto. Dr. Abdul, thank you for coming on Energy Insights.
Thank you for taking me and taking my opinion on this pressing issue which Pakistan is currently facing.
So, Abdul, before we get started today, I wanted to talk about all things energy and how the situation is in Pakistan in particular. But before we get into that, could you give us a little bit information about your background? So, your career history or anything else that you think is important.
I am a chemical engineer. And my graduation is from Dawood Engineering University, where I am currently serving as a professor. My PhD was on renewable energy, and its focus was on finding the alternate energy solutions for the country which is facing energy crisis. So my focus of my career's research was on finding sustainable, renewable and alternate energy solutions. I have written quite a number of publications, and my articles are regularly appears in national and international magazines and newspapers.
I think a good place to start is about Pakistan and its history with energy, and in particular in modern times. So I guess from your perspective, what has been the most dominant historical energy source in Pakistan in recent years?
Let me give a brief of the energy situation and where the issue first arose. Pakistan was a rural economy back in 1970s and early 80s. Afterward, due to high inflation and slow economical growth, there was a prime issue of unemployment, particularly in rural areas. That leads to the urbanization, and in 80s the population growth was 2.9. That was very high in the regime. So these two were the major drivers that forced the power shortage in country. And for the first time in 1992, Government of Pakistan introduced independent power policy. Before 92, the power sector was totally in the public sector. All three components, generation, distribution and transmission. Two public entities, WAPDA and K Electric, Karachi Electric Supply Corporation, were the main public sector organizations that were looking after all three components. Later on, early 2000s, K Electric was privatized, but WAPDA is still there. But after 1992, first time, government allowed private sector in generation section. Still, the distribution and transmission was in the public sector. But in early 2000s, government reoriented WAPDA and created distribution companies. Still, beside WAPDA, K Electric, which is in the private sector, all distribution companies are in the public sector, and their performance is still have a huge question mark.
And what would you say the main energy source would be in modern times? Would it be based on fossil fuels or like biomass, for example?
Early in 1970s and 80s, the Pakistan's power sector was dominated by hydropower. Around 50 to 60% of power generations came from the hydropower. Later on, after introduction of IPP's policy into the 1992, for the first time in 1994, first thermal power plant in private sector was installed. That was one power plant. So that started the shift from the hydro to thermal power plants. Initially, it was fossil fuel, mainly furnace oil, and few plants were there for natural gas as well. In early 2000s, government's policy was to focus on natural gas. Country started to face a shortage of natural gas as well. So they then switched over to the imported furnace oil. That was very costly. And then economy started facing stress. Specifically, they faced foreign exchange deficit. There were a lot of pressure on currency because of the high cost of imported fossil fuels. That resulted in government switching towards local resources. The easily, but unfortunately, environmentally costly solution was the coal. Government focused. They defined easy solution in replacing furnace oil with charcoal. One of the leading developments in these developments started after 2015 and 16. So, you look at the current energy mix. The main component is the fossil fuels, furnace oil, gas. Then in early 2010s, they also started importing LNG from Middle East, again, very costly fuel. And now, in recent 5 years, they have replaced few plants in Sindh and Punjab with local coal, and in some cases imported coal elsewhere, which is very environmental costly.
Would you say that, as Pakistan has urbanized and as the population has grown, would you say that, for example, coal or imported LNG has become, more dominant and compared to, say, other energy sources like renewables?
The current energy deficit is huge. Government is facing a lot of crises. Industries facing crisis. They are not getting power on regular. And there is load shedding, which is very prevalent, which is hurting the economy. So, as far as renewable energy is concerned, and government has failed to get required investment in idle projects. The progress on solar and wind it's okay, it's not bad. But these are time-dependent sources because during daytimes, solar is available. During nighttime, this resource is not available. And unfortunately, Pakistan has failed to limit the commercial activity, the business timing to sunlight. In major cities like Karachi, Islamabad, and Lahore, then this remains open till midnight, which is a huge burden on the energy sector. And government has failed to implement business times in daytime. Failure on the hurdle side is also hurting the country, whereas the progress in solar and wind is satisfactory. The use of solar plates in the domestic sector has increased tremendously in the last 5 years. Because of the frequent load shedding, people are using solar plates as a standby. And specifically during this summer, during heat waves, people use the solar plates to run their air conditioning uninterrupted. So there is a mixed trend. People are looking for alternates. Government have their limitations because of the limited foreign investment in power sectors. Foreign investors are not confidence because of the political instability and the frequent disruption in policies and the question marks which are not wanted on the power policy.
And I assume for example, you mentioned load shedding, and I assume this is really hurting the economy in Pakistan right now, especially when businesses can't run for example, as long as they can. If the power keeps going out, I mean, you have to just close the doors and say no more business today, for example, in a factory or even in a shop. Can you see that on the ground there on the streets? Is that happening? Is there a lot of business activity going down?
I agree with your comments, and specifically textiles sector has suffered the most because of the frequent load sheddings and high cost have made our industries difficult to compete on international level because of the high input cost. They have a lot of disadvantage. Few industries have shifted from Pakistan to other border countries. This is the main challenge. The government still has not fully addressed these challenges.
What role do you think that, for example, that imported fuel will have in the future? Do you think that the government will continue with that policy, or is it becoming too expensive?
I think government has already felt that the imported fuels are very expensive, and they have unfortunately replaced it with more damageful option. Coal is more damageful option for the economy, because if you can see the recent floods and heat wave, and both have damaged the economy more than anything else. If people feel power crisis is a challenge, definitely it's a challenge. But the ecological changes that have occurred in the last 10 years has more damaging impact on economy than the power crisis. It's my feeling. If you can see the number of casualties, thousands of people died during both floods and heat waves in the last 10 years. So government have to take a balanced approach where they have to provide the power to the people at affordable rates, and while they have to protect the ecology as well, so that Pakistan continue to live in a peak atmosphere which is conducive and which is livable.
Recently, you published an article in The Diplomat, which I read a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned that the government in Pakistan really has to consider energy from a national security perspective, and I assume you mean as well climate change is attached, and the climate change's impacts is attached to that as well. I'm just wondering if you can explain a little more about what you mean by Pakistan, the government in Pakistan taking a national security approach when it comes to energy and climate change impacts.
In last 10 to 15 years, the climate change has caused a lot of harm to economy, ecology, and the peoples. Thousands of people have died because of the floods, and likewise, thousands of people have died because of the heat waves that the country has faced in the last two decades, means 2010 to 2015, 25, 24 currently. So this is the major challenge, which is also a national security threat, and that has created a lot of unrest among the peoples. And government has lost their credibility among the people. People are frequently protesting on their streets. You may see these protests in Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore, and other major cities. And I see this is in coming years, these unrest may increase unless these challenges are not addressed properly, and the cost of the energy, the government have to control the cost as well. And they are in serious trouble, because on one side they have to provide the power at cost which is affordable, and on other day they have to take care of the climate as well. The climate is hurting more than what they have perceived or what they have considered.
In your opinion, what would be a good course of action for Pakistan to take given the current circumstances? How would you go about addressing some of these really important challenges?
My take is very simple. Government cannot do anything in an isolation. Power, it may be the power, or it may be the economy, may it be the political statement. There should be a holistic approach. Everything should be considered while formulating the energy policies or any policy it may be. While power sector, energy mix is very important. Government's focus on local energy resources is very understandable, but they have to focus on efficient distribution. They have to reduce the power losses in distribution, which is currently very high. It's around about 15 to 18%, whereas the acceptable limit is 10 to 12% is acceptable. 8 is ideal. So the distribution losses are very high. Transmission system is also unreliable. There is a frequent shutdowns. So another issue which government has to address in parallel is population control. Current the population growth is official document according to this 2.1, which is still highest in the region. And another issue that is hurting our economy and our power sector is the rapid urbanization because of the unemployment in rural sector. Our rural sector in the last 20 years has shrunk a lot. So it's not just a power mix issue. Our policy should focus on controlling the population, urbanization, efficient distribution, efficient transmission, and most importantly, use of efficient appliances as well. Energy efficiency is least bother in Pakistan. Even industrial sector, corporate sector, business sectors and all, you can easily find the 20, 30-year-old appliances people start using in homes, in industry, which are in any case very inefficient. So government has to take care of everything, and then it should be a complete package rather than focusing on only energy mix to address this issue.
Do you see a role for like international cooperation here? How much do you see, for example, international climate finance playing a role in supporting Pakistan transition and do all the things that you just mentioned, like fixing up transmission rates and making sure that things are more efficient? Do you see a role for international finance to come into this?
Definitely, without taking consideration of Pakistan's economical conditions and shortage of foreign currency, specifically dollars, it will be very difficult, challenging task for Pakistan to address these challenges without the support of international community. After the last climate summit conferences, we have a hope that the international community shall come to rescue Pakistan with the climate support fund. But most important at the same time is for Pakistan to timely prepare and submit the projects which are relevant to the climate challenges, to address the climate challenges, because we have also another challenge in the public sector, that is the capacity. And you can take example of India. They are taking a larger share from the climate support fund because the government timely submit the projects, and these projects are well defended with different forums. That capacity, what I feel, is lacking in Pakistan for public sector. So this may be, and this is, I feel, is the one another reason Pakistan is not getting required support at international level. But government has to improve their administrative capacity so that they can target these funds.
Abdul, it's been wonderful to talk to you and get your views on all these really important issues. Anything else you'd like to add? So, for example, where listeners can find more of your work. So, for example, a website or any publications that you would like to point people to go to find out more.
Thanks for taking me, and I'm easily accessible at LinkedIn and my university website is also. You can easily access my publications and articles at my LinkedIn account. If you have any further questions, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Abdul. It was a pleasure to speak to you. If you found this episode valuable, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends or colleagues, and visit our website at energytracker.asia for more. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time on Energy Insights.